His mind was like a browser with 37 tabs open, and 5 of them were frozen. Daniel stared at the ceiling as the alarm buzzed for the 3rd time. Before his feet touched the floor, his brain was already racing. Emails, deadlines, messages he hadn't answered. He reached for his phone without thinking. 15 minutes gone, and his day hadn't even started. Another list of tasks waited on the table, untouched from yesterday. His coffee turned cold while he scrolled through strangers' lives. And once again, his thoughts were everywhere, except where they needed to be. He was smart. He had plans. But every time he tried to focus, a louder voice pulled him away. Not a voice outside, but the one in his own head. "Maybe I'm just not built for this," he whispered. He was tired of starting things and never finishing them. And then came one ordinary morning, a packed subway, a stranger with a quiet presence, and a single sentence that would shake everything inside him. Daniel had no idea that his noisy mind was about to be silenced in the most unexpected place. Daniel started every day with good intentions. He'd wake up thinking, "Today I'll get it together." But within minutes, his attention was hijacked by notifications. A message here, a trending video there. Suddenly it was noon, and all he had to show for it was a drained battery and a restless mind. His apartment mirrored his mental state. Sticky notes on walls, half-read books, to-do lists from last month. Every corner whispered, "You started, but didn't finish." He wasn't lazy. He was drowning in a storm of thoughts pulling him everywhere. Focus felt like a luxury only other people could afford. Even when he tried to work, his brain betrayed him. One email turned into 10 tabs. One idea sparked 5 distractions. It was like running in circles inside his own head. And when night came, regret wrapped around him like a heavy coat. "Why can't I just do what I said I'd do?" he'd whisper to himself. He Googled productivity hacks, downloaded apps, watched motivational videos, but nothing stuck, because his problem wasn't lack of tools, it was lack of control. Deep down, he wondered if he was just wired differently. Maybe he didn't have what it takes to succeed in a world that demands discipline. And yet, part of him still hoped there was another way. That hope was quiet, barely alive, but it was there. And one day, without planning it, he crossed paths with someone whose calm presence in the middle of chaos would make Daniel stop in his tracks. A stranger with one sentence that echoed louder than his racing thoughts. If you've ever felt the same, go ahead and like this video. It lets us know we're not alone. It was just another Monday. The subway was packed with bodies, noise, and invisible tension. Daniel squeezed into the last car, earbuds in, but no music playing, just the usual chaos inside his mind. He was already exhausted, and the day hadn't even begun. Across from him sat a man in his 60s, calm, focused, unbothered. While everyone else stared at screens or sighed with impatience, this man read a book, slowly flipping each page like the world didn't exist. No headphones, no fidgeting, just presence. Daniel couldn't look away. Something about the man felt anchored. The train jerked, a phone rang, someone argued over a missed call, but the man didn't even blink. Daniel leaned closer, unable to resist, and finally asked, "Excuse me, how do you stay so calm in all this noise?" The man looked up, smiled gently, and closed his book. He answered without hesitation, "If you focus on the noise, you'll become it. But if you train your mind to focus on what's still, you'll carry peace wherever you go." The words landed in his chest like a stone in water. Before he could respond, the train stopped. The man stood up, nodded politely, and disappeared into the crowd. Daniel sat there frozen, replaying the sentence in his mind. It didn't feel like a cliché. It felt like a code he didn't fully understand. Why did it hit so hard? What did "what's still" even mean? And why did that one moment feel heavier than every podcast he'd heard all year? He didn't know it yet, but his transformation had already begun.
The next morning, Daniel boarded the same train, but this time he left his phone in his pocket. No music, no scrolling, no escape. Just the roar of the tracks, the blur of faces, and the chaos of the city. He thought it would be easy. It wasn't. Within seconds, his mind screamed for distraction. His thoughts jumped from a forgotten email to a conversation he never finished. His leg bounced, his fingers twitched, his brain was addicted to noise. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was loud. Louder than anything he'd heard with headphones on. He tried focusing on his breath, on the rhythm of the train, but his mind kept slipping, chasing old regrets and imaginary problems. For 10 minutes, he fought a battle no one else could see. And when the train stopped, he exhaled like he'd run a marathon. But something inside him had shifted, just slightly. That night, he wrote in a notebook for the first time in months. Not a to-do list, not a plan, just a thought. Maybe I've been feeding the noise. Maybe I've forgotten how to be still. The words weren't profound, but they were real. And in that moment he realized this might be the beginning of something bigger. But beginnings always demand a choice, and Daniel was about to make a quiet decision that would shake his entire routine. Not because someone told him to, but because he wanted to. The experiment wasn't over. It was just starting to get uncomfortable. And discomfort, he was about to learn, is where the rewiring begins. The next morning, Daniel didn't touch his phone. Instead, he sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the quiet. For the first time, he didn't rush into the noise. He grabbed his notebook, drew a simple box, and wrote above it, 7 days to train my mind. His rules were simple, but powerful. No phone until after breakfast. 15 minutes of silent thinking. No music, no multitasking. One task at a time. No switching, no excuses. And at the end of each day, one handwritten reflection, no matter how small. Day 1 was messy. His thoughts fought back. He forgot the rules, scrolled out of habit, snapped back in frustration. But he didn't give up. Day 2 was clearer. By day 3, he noticed he was breathing slower, not because he tried, because his mind wasn't racing anymore. He began to crave the stillness. What once felt like emptiness started to feel like clarity. He didn't suddenly become a productivity machine, but he was no longer chasing 10 things and finishing none. He was learning to finish one with presence. On the 6th day, something unexpected happened. A moment so ordinary, yet so powerful that it made everything click into place. It didn't come from a book, or a YouTube video, or even a voice. It came from within, and it happened right there on the train. It was the 6th morning. Daniel sat on the train again. No phone, no distractions, no racing. This time, he didn't fight the silence. He welcomed it. Instead of shrinking from the chaos, he let it pass like wind around him, and for the first time, his mind didn't follow the noise. That evening, Lena noticed something different. They sat together at a small cafe.
sipping tea. Usually, Daniel checked his phone every few minutes, barely present. But tonight, he looked her in the eyes. Fully there. No rush, no bouncing thoughts. Just calm. She tilted her head and smiled. "You're quiet today," she said. "Not distracted, just quiet. Peaceful." Daniel paused, then chuckled softly. "I think I'm starting to hear myself again," he said. And Lena's smile widened, not because he'd changed, but because he was becoming. The rest of the evening flowed differently. They walked without checking directions, talked without jumping topics. Daniel wasn't just listening, he was absorbing. For years his body had been present, but his mind had always wandered. Now they were finally walking in sync. But clarity often invites a new challenge. The next day, an unexpected opportunity arrived, one that would test everything Daniel had built over the past week. Would his newfound discipline hold when the pressure returned, or would the noise come roaring back at the worst possible time?
The email came at 6:12 a.m. Daniel read it twice, just to be sure. An opening had come up, a spot to pitch his project at the firm's internal accelerator. Only 5 people were invited. It was a fast track to leadership, and the presentation was in 24 hours. This was what he'd wanted for over a year. But his hands began to sweat, his chest tightened. The old noise tried to creep in. What if you choke? What if you fail again? He closed his laptop and stood still, breathing deeply. "No," he whispered. "I've trained for this." Lena met him for lunch and noticed the tension. She reached across the table, holding his hand gently. "Whatever happens," she said, "just be present. You've already won something bigger." He nodded slowly. She was right. He wasn't the same man who ran from discomfort. He faced it now. That night, he didn't rehearse obsessively. He outlined his ideas clearly, focused on one message, and slept early. In the morning, he dressed with calm confidence. While others scrambled with cue cards, Daniel sat silently in the hallway, eyes closed. He didn't block out the nerves, he breathed through them. The moment arrived. His name was called. He walked in not to prove his worth, but to express it. Every word came with clarity. Every pause had purpose. For the first time, his mind and message moved as one. But what happened after wasn't what he expected. If you've ever had to quiet your mind before a big moment, share your experience below. Someone out there might find strength in your story. When Daniel finished his presentation, the room held its breath. Then came a wave of nods, followed by direct questions from the top executives. They weren't just impressed, they were curious. Curious about him, his clarity, his presence, his ideas. And for the first time, Daniel didn't shrink. He answered with quiet authority. 2 days later, the email arrived. He didn't just pass, he got the offer. A leadership track role, something he had only dreamed of a year ago. It wasn't just a promotion, it was a new chapter. The kind that requires not just skill, but stability. Lena met him at the same cafe where they always debriefed life. But this time, he wasn't unraveling stress or overanalyzing what went wrong. He was different. Not louder, not prouder, just calm, collected, rooted. And Lena noticed it before he said a single word. He didn't celebrate with a post or a party.
He celebrated with a pause, looking out the window, quietly remembering all the times he almost gave up, all the moments where his own mind was the enemy, and how now it had become his greatest ally. Discipline isn't about control, it's about direction. Daniel didn't just win a position, he reclaimed his peace. He discovered that a disciplined mind doesn't silence emotions, it teaches you how to move through them with grace. And when your inner world is steady, the outer world finally listens. You can't fake focus. You build it, day by day, in silence. Every choice to stay calm when chaos rises rewires something inside you. Every moment you resist distraction, your strength multiplies. Because discipline isn't punishment, it's preparation. The kind that shapes you quietly until the world takes notice. So if this story spoke to something in you, don't let it fade away. Like this video if you're ready to train your own mind. Subscribe for more stories that help you grow stronger from within. And in the comments, share one thing you're choosing to focus on this week. Your decision might inspire someone who's still trying to find their peace.